Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Emily Hiles, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Lieutenant Tomo Kudrich. This evening, we warmly welcome Group Captain Bruce Chandler, retired, representing the Air Force Association. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Club Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where family and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved. And here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Flying Officer Murray James Feddersen. Murray Feddersen was born on the 24th of April 1924 in Colac, Victoria, the son of store manager and grocer Albert Feddersen and his wife Linda. Growing up alongside his older brother Alan, Murray attended Colac West Primary School, Colac High School and Geelong College. After leaving school, he found work as an officer with the National Bank. On the 9th of October 1942, Murray Feddersen enlisted in the Royal Australian Air Force. The 18-year-old trained as a pilot and by July 1943 had received his wings and been made sergeant. Feddersen embarked for overseas service from Adelaide on the 4th of August 1943, arriving in the United Kingdom in September. As part of the Empire Air Training Scheme, he was one of almost 27,500 Royal Australian Air Force pilots, navigators, wireless operators, air gunners, and flight engineers who, throughout the course of the war, joined Royal Air Force squadrons or Australian squadrons based in Britain. Further specialist training followed in England, and Feddersen was promoted to flying officer. On the 16th of September 1944, he was posted to number 467 Squadron, Royal Australian Air Force, which flew the 4-engined Avro Lancaster heavy bomber as part of Bomber Command. In October 1944, Feddersen and his crew took part in a mission to bomb Wilhelmshaven in Germany. They were on their way back from the target when mechanical failure forced them to ditch their aircraft in the sea. The whole crew survived and were rescued and taken back to their base in England. The following month, on the afternoon of the 11th of November 1944, Bomber Command launched a major raid to bomb refineries at Harburg in Germany. Flying Officer Murray Feddersen was the pilot of Lancaster POW, which took off from the Royal Air Force Base at Wellington shortly before 4:30 p.m. Of the 19 aircraft committed to the mission by number 467 Squadron, only 2, including Feddersen's Lancaster, failed to return. After the war, it was established that Feddersen's aircraft had caught fire and crashed at Bremerhaven, some 90 kilometers west of the target. There were no survivors. Those killed in the crash with Flying Officer Murray Feddersen were fellow Australians Warrant Officer Ian Gray and Flight Surgeons William Fuston and Mervyn Stedman, along with British surgeons George Carrington, Ronald Heath, and Eric Vivers. After the war, the remains of Commonwealth servicemen buried in Europe were examined and identified where possible. The bodies of the crew were found buried at the Becklingen War Cemetery. Today, Murray Feddersen's remains lie there under the inscription, "Ever remembered, he was 20 years old." Flying Officer Murray Feddersen's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, along with some 40,000 others from the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Flying Officer Murray James Feddersen and all those Australians who have given their lives in service of our nation.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow, not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of our director, volunteers and staff, we thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.